and welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us, Pop Stars. This week's episode is sponsored by partners at Most Def Lee and Shady LLP. They can get you out of trouble you shouldn't even be in. And if they can't, then they always have a plan B. Hit them up at 1-800 no 2 time or mdlslegal.org. Tammy, I wanted to go to law school. I think I would have been a pretty good lawyer.
You would have been an amazing lawyer, Eddie.
Well, thank you. Law school's still my plan B, but my mama told me you don't go to law school to be a broke ass lawyer. Especially since I had Ivy League law school dreams, She's like, oh hell no.
Oh gosh.
But this week, we hop on the partner track, the new Netflix legal drama starring Arden Cho as Ingrid Yun, an idealistic lawyer who begins to realize that her dream of what it would be like to be on a partner track doesn't quite match the reality, which causes her to question whether the sacrifices and compromise are too high of a price to pay. So, Tammy, what did you think of Partner Trap? Did it climb the corporate ladder to success, or was it an HR nightmare?
We'll get into it, but I will just say, like, my overall view is I like the concept. I think that the idea of the show was really, really good. I did like the idea of the show, but the acting is what ultimately kills the series for me. And we'll get into exactly what I mean by that. But I will say the show as a whole, it was a great concept. I really enjoyed it, but there were just certain elements of the show that just there was a lot lacking in different areas that ultimately led to not being as great as it could have been. What about you?
It wasn't a runaway success for me, but I wouldn't quite report them to HR. There are glows and there are grows.
Glows and grows.
And like you said, so we can just get there. First of all, I love seeing Arden Cho in a leading role. I loved her since Teen Wolf, and I loved the character on Teen Wolf. I may have been one of the few who actually liked her character. And I was also glad to see, I'm all about representation. So I was glad to see a show with an Asian lead. So I do agree with you. The concept of the show is great. I love that. I don't think the acting was just horrible, but I think that some of the storylines, because of the chemistry, were unbelievable or left a lot to be desired. They were lacking. And I think the chemistry is what made it lacking. I remember you texting me at one point and you're like, oh God, the chemistry. So if it was a chemistry test, I think for certain characters, they definitely would have failed. I agree with you on that. So I guess we should get into it. The chemistry was lacking, I think, between her and two of her love interests. What about you?
I'm gonna say that I think the chemistry. I do not find Arden Cho to be a great actress. I don't consider her to be a good actress. I am one of those people that did not like her character on Teen Wolf. So when she slowly started to disappear from the show, there was like no miss for me. Like the show just kept flowing for me. Like I didn't see something missing because her character was no longer there. And this show, she was not believable in the role. Like I keep saying, the concept was great, but her in the role was not believable. She never sold the idea of her being this young, amazing lawyer who's trying to get ahead. And she was like, just absolutely like on fire. And she was fierce and, power attorney kind of thing. Like I never ever believe that. And it does go back also to chemistry, because I didn't consider her acting to be that great throughout the whole entire series. I think she was one of the weak points. She didn't have chemistry except for with one person. I saw it towards the end. I definitely caught a whiff of chemistry at the end, and that was between her and Z Min. There was just I finally saw like a vibe between her and another character, was kind of like them working off each other. But then I start thinking, is it because Z Min was just good at it, or so he kind of carried her well? Because her other two weren't the greatest actors either. But yeah, sorry. I kind of like went on a little bit of a rant when it comes to Arden Cho. But I just, they could have chosen somebody better. Like, I feel like anybody could have done that role and done it justice. And I think that the show would have been way more successful, but she couldn't carry the show for me. She did not have it at all for me.
Um, I I don't think, obviously, I don't think she's a horrible actress. Like, I now, don't get me wrong, this is an award-winning show, or I wouldn't just sign her up for an Emmy. But there were scenes where I think she was a little bit too stiff, where she played that tight upper lip conservative role a little too well, or where it was just too stiff. So there are some scenes, even when she was by herself, I will grant that. Um, I'm not going to say they were believable. I think that she could have shown a little bit more emotion. So me like wanting to actually get into the business and break in behind the scenes, I'm like, okay, did the director call for this? Like, so I was just trying to break down certain things from different angles, where I was like, okay, I get that you're that lawyer. I get that you how do I say this? I guess they played the stereotype of the cold, unfeeling, unemotional Asian a little too close to the vest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say.
Yeah. So and I was like, like there were scenes that she needed a little bit more emotion. I like the actors who played her love interest. I just didn't like. I'm not gonna say I didn't like them in this. I just I don't know what it was. Like, they weren't. It wasn't believable with either of them. I think Nick. I think Nick was maybe a right guy at the moment, but the wrong time. Like, I really would have loved it to see it all switched around. Like, if Nick had come in at the end, um, because it's like I don't know that they ever gave him a real shot. Like, and just the way their whole relationship played out. Like, she told everyone she's supposed to be a lawyer, this great negotiator, but she couldn't communicate with the person in her life. She told everyone but Nick that she thought their relationship was moving too fast. So all the things she should have been communicating to him, she communicated to everyone else but him. And then she was always lying to him, which I was just like, this relationship is doomed for him to start. So it's like, I understand everyone in your life is not the one, but I would have liked to see like what natural problems they would have had if she weren't getting her own way in that relationship. So I actually liked Nick. I just think it would have been better if he would have maybe come along at the end. And I also think it would have made the love triangle more believable, if there was a balance, I guess. Because I didn't believe the whole thing with her and Murphy. Like, Murphy was cute, the British accent. There's nothing sexier than a man with an accent. I'm crazy about men with accents. But I think her best friend Tyler had it right. Murphy was always the fuckiest of fuck boys. Like, that's all he was a fuck boy from beginning to end. And him coming along, like, was it supposed to be cute about him not remembering that they had this very hot, passionate night at this wedding 6 years ago? Like, was that supposed to be cute or endearing, or, like, I don't get that. To me, that was a. What about?
Yeah, so what I'm going to say about Dominic Sherwood, who played Jeff Murphy, is that I don't find him to be sexy or even cute. I agree with you that a man with an accent is really cute. And I felt like that's what they lived on. They lived on this you know, he's supposed to be, you're supposed to look at him and think he's so sexy because he has an accent, because he's British, because he's from London. And I never got that. And I also didn't get their history. Like, it was more her saying what the history was or what she remembered it to be, because he played her from the jump. It was her saying what the chemistry was from them meeting, rather than us actually seeing this whole meet cute that she was trying to put out there and how hot it was. Because I never got this whole thing of he was the one for her. And it's just that, you know, it was like a one night thing, but the chemistry was there on both sides. I looked at it kind of as in he was playing with her majority of the show. It like I agree with you on what Tyler said. He was a fuck boy, and she never wanted to acknowledge that he was a fuck boy. Like, he was playing you. Like, he thought it was cute to make you feel like he didn't remember you, and then you got upset. And then when you kind of was bragging about your new boyfriend Nick, or the new guy you like, then all of a sudden he throws out, oh, I did remember you, but you know, it's just like I was new, and you know, I just didn't know if you, like, kind of like making it seem like, you know, I didn't mean to, it just kind of came out that way, and then I had to go with it. And I'm just like, and she fell for it. And I'm just like, are you serious?
Yeah.
I was just like, you really are falling for this dude's lies? And I'm just like, it gotta be the accent. Like, all I kept saying is like, it's gotta be the accent. Like, he can lie, but as long as he sounds like that, it's fantastic. And so, like, I never fell for this idea that her and Murphy was endgame.
Yeah.
I never got it. I never got the endgame thing. What I will say is with Nick, I agree with you. I think Nick was a great guy. I hate what she did to him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was just so shady. But then to find out what she did with all her other people in her life, it was just, you know, true to course. But I think Nick was a great guy. And if she had just told him that she wanted to slow down, I feel like you can slow down. She assumed, like, it was kind of like off of conversations that she had with him. It was like she was assuming where he was. Oh, he wants to go through this because ever since his mom died, you know, that's the reason why he's rushing through things. But you never had a conversation about if he could slow down so y'all can start to get to know each other more. You just kind of like moved into him, you know, unofficially. And then you said yes to him when he proposed to you with that amazing ring just because you didn't want to say no. And then you cheated on him.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing. It's like he wasn't unbelievable. The thing with Nick is he wasn't someone who was hard to talk to. He always had her back. He was very supportive. And the whole thing about moving in, I get it. He wanted, it was fast, but it wasn't like he just asked her to move in randomly. It was because her sister blew up her apartment, and we'll talk about the sister in a bit. But so it's like, okay, you both knew it was temporary. Even after he proposed, or even before then, you felt like, hey, it was moving too fast. So even before he got to the proposal, when you saw the ring, when you stumbled across the ring in the drawer, you kind of had an idea where it's going. Great time to have a conversation about slowing down. Like, everything she should have said to him, she said to everyone but him. And I agree with you about Murphy. The blue eyes, the sexy. Like, I've never just been. I'm with you. I never thought Dominic Sherwood was just this hunk, but he is attractive. In this
To you.
rugged, yeah, in this rugged. A lot of people think he's attractive, but
I'm sure they do, but I'm just saying that for this podcast, he's attractive to you because I've never found him attractive, even when he was in Shadowhunters.
yeah. So, but it was like, it's the blue eyes or whatever, but I get it. Um, but I agree. This is one of the times where they definitely could have taken an episode or a scene or a few scenes, to make us understand what the attraction was. What is it that made her ignore all the fuckery? What was it about this one night, one drunken night at a wedding, where, like, was the sex even that good, or were you just drunk? Did you have wedding vibes? Like, really, like, was it a combination of the pheromones or the hormones from the wedding and being like, ah, la, 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 and then the good liquor, and then him liking your speech. You know how weddings make most people. I despise weddings, so I wouldn't know. Um, so it's just like, why? What was it? Like, I needed something to make me believe that he was the one. That what y'all shared was just so deep, so passionate that it makes you believe that 6 years ago, it makes you overlook the person that he is now, because no one's the same person that they were 6 years ago. So it was just like, like, I did not like his character. And the way, and it seems like they intentionally, even though we're going to talk about what she did to the other people in her life, it seems like they intentionally had her fuck over this great guy to get to this fuck boy who you knew was coming. And I'm like, I definitely did not see him as being in game. And that's why I say I think Nick would have been a better choice as her meeting after he fucked her over, like her at a bar, exactly the way they did it. Her at a bar having a drink, and then she meets Nick, and leading into season two. And if they would have spent this season trying to make us believe that there was something redeemable or likable about Murphy, then maybe. But it all seemed a little bit rushed. And I agree with you. My choice, I wrote down that Z, like, question mark, is Z really in game? Because out of the men, he's the one that she seemed to have the most chemistry off of. Like, he was the sleeper, he was the subtle one. It was like, oh, okay, so they do have chemistry. Like, it's there. So is it going to grow or blossom into something more? I could see that.
Oh,
But
so I wasn't the only one that saw it. Yes.
no, you weren't. You definitely were not. I was like, hey, maybe Z. Like, and I know this is based off a book. I don't know if it's an adaptation from a book. I don't know if it's a book series or just one book, but we'll see. Now I did, and I also loved her best friends. I loved Tyler and Rachel. I loved the friendship until she went along and fucked it up. But I do love. What did you think about Tyler and Rachel?
Oh, I love them. I mean, granted, they were a little cliche. Um, but ultimately I did like her friendships that she had. I thought they were great. Like, I loved Rachel. Her kind of figuring out who she is. But then at the same time, okay, so can I just say, when she's kind of like she's trying to do the least amount of work, but then she knows how to do her job and everything. And I was like, she reminds me a little bit of Eddie. because, because it was
At the day job, yes.
yes. Like, I was just like, I'm watching Rachel and I'm just like, she's strong-minded, she about her business. She knows how to do her job. She knows she's absolutely phenomenal at her job. But at the same time, this is not what she really wants to do. So she's gonna do what she needs to do in order to be left alone. And I was just like, that's Eddie.
It
At the day
is.
job. At the day job, y'all. That can be Eddie. But yeah, I did love her strength. I also liked that she figured herself out, but I kind of feel like it worked on her figuring herself out while she kind of like fell in love a little bit with Justin. I really like that. Like, kind of like she didn't let go of like her strength or anything. It's not like she all of a sudden became real soft. Because sometimes when they do shows like that with a strong female character, and then all of a sudden she falls in love and she starts to change, all of a sudden she gets really soft. Like, so she doesn't show her strength as much, or she caters more to the male counterpart. But for this one, I feel like her discovering herself, she still had her strength. She still did things that she felt remorse for at the end, or guilty of at the end, when she tried to, like, make up for it when it came to Justin. And then, but with Tyler, I like Tyler and him being part of the friend circle, but I feel like when it came to Tyler's personal life, like, he fucked it up for no reason, if that makes any sense. Like, I that confused me a little bit on how he just like fucked up his personal life, off of what was going on in his professional life. Like, it didn't fully click for me or make sense to me, on him needing to do that. Or unless it was just so they can make him single, and him and his boyfriend could break up, and then all of a sudden he's single going into the second season if they get it. But Yeah, but other than that, the friendship wise, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I loved Rachel. Obviously, I saw the similarities too. We're clicking on this one more than we're not. I said the same thing. Like, I loved her pragmatism, about, the right, and I related to the whole wanting to be a writer thing, and
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily quitting the day job until she had that nest egg.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, so I felt that deep in my soul, and I loved when she went off on Justin's people for being a quote unquote struggling artist, and she's like, "Oh yeah, y'all really struggling, surviving off of Justin and his daddy's money." you know you're in this really gorgeous block that's paid for by Justin, but yet you're struggling and judging everyone else. Like, I love that. And she was like, don't go off on him, you can't make fun of him, I'm the only one who can go off on him. Like, so I love that. I loved Justin. You thought he was just going to be this fuck up from the beginning, but he was actually probably the most romantically mature person. Like, I loved him. I did like his character, and I thought that he and Rachel brought out the best in each other. Um, he even though he was perfect for her, he was still a little flawed. He still had some, he was just a nice all around, well rounded character. So, and I truly loved at the end where, where she tried to give him back the toothbrush, and he's like, "So what does this mean? Do you want to be with me? I know where I stand with you." And he wasn't asking her to give up anything. He wasn't asking her to, and she was just like, "I don't know." He was just basically asking her to treat him with more respect. I get that he fucked up big with the email, but it was an accident. We've all sent the wrong text to the wrong person, and and because I guess the job, it had been disclosed previously, it wasn't a big deal as far as HR goes. They just had to amend that paper. But I also understand, how she felt like everyone was looking at her now in the firm. So I mean, I understand both sides of it, but at this point, if you just kept it on the low and signed the release, but so I love how he just didn't accept her "I don't know" and go with the status quo. So I look if they do get a second season, I look forward to seeing what happens with Rachel. I think she was one of the most interesting characters, and I wholeheartedly agree with you with Tyler. I loved that, I loved his story, and I felt like it was real because so many times it falls on us as the Black person, to always be the one to speak out or suffer in silence, even when there are other minorities around. Like, that was probably one of my favorite episodes. The one where they were after retreat and Homeboy was just telling those jokes. I thought that was probably one of the best written, most realistic, of this show. I really thought that episode, and especially the way he reacted to it. Like, when he first told, I forgot the dude's name. What was the dude's name?
Oh, Dan.
Yeah, when he first told Dan, and Dan was like, "Oh, okay," and something told me it can't be that easy.
It
It
yeah.
And so when he went back and he started making all those jokes, and you're just looking around like, "What the fuck?" And then you see everybody else like kind of laughing, and it's just like, what the entire fuck. And
Well, being
so then,
surrounded by a whole group of white people and seeing all your white colleagues finding it hilarious
hilarious
while
at your
all of
expense.
your people of color is looking at each other like, what the fuck is
Fuck.
y'all see this too, right? Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like, I'm not the only one, but yeah, so I thought that was just so realistic, and I was just like, okay. And then, especially when HR is doing the review, and the people are coming in, and you're seeing the different perspectives, and how, oh, it was just a joke, oh, it was fun, haha, and then his own mindset, Dan's own mindset, I was educating them, I did them a favor. What? But
But
that.
to see the white people, or like when that guy, one of their friends who looked at it as in, I never would have known about any of white fragility and everything if he hadn't done it. And I was just like, that, oh my gosh. Yeah, I consider that to be perfect. I'm gonna agree with you. Cause
Like,
when you realize he thought that he was like, yo, I learned, that was like proving Dan's point.
Yeah, and then Dan is the liberal. His dad is the hot shot, or his stepfather, or whatever. His mom is old money East Coast liberal, quote unquote. So what we call Austin liberal, you and I. Um, and then his stepfather is what, some hot shot Hollywood attorney. So he's liberal. He's the quote unquote woke white dude. And I'm just like, oh gosh, like that. It just hit perfectly. And I thought that they went too far when they made all of that extra crap spill into his life. It's like, okay, you can have a professional awakening, and your professional life can be blown up because you took a stand and you did this, which, considering that was also very realistic. But the part about his love blowing up his personal life, like, I didn't see it because besides them being very busy, um, two professional career professionals, we didn't see any tension, anything that would lead us to believe
At
that there
all.
were these troubles between him and his boyfriend. Like, like, if you're going to do that, let us see the troubles. Like, okay, even when he cheated, you almost understood because he was in just that fragile place from losing his job. He was drunk. So, okay, but like, have him live with that for a season, or have him live with that guilt, or have it come back to bite him later on when he's out with his boyfriend. But give us more than just having that all of a sudden be the reason why he blows up his whole life. Like, I thought that just came out way out of left field. Like, you didn't give us any indication that there was trouble, that there were troubles there, that this was what was going to happen. So I thought that was a bit far-fetched. I agree with you on that. Um but yeah, but other than that, I do love Tyler. Tyler was like amazing. I love, and again, I loved it when he called him. What did he say? He's the fuck boy or something. Something he said about him just being a fuck boy to on a whole different level.
Yeah, but
Was
he
a
kept doing different statements, calling him a fuck. It was different types of fuck boys that he
fuck
was
boy,
calling him throughout the show.
and I was just like, yeah. And then at the end, he's like, I told you he was a fuck boy. He's like, that has never changed. Um, but so what did you think about what she did to get to, because it all comes back to Tyler and that night. I thought it was just fucked up how she did
So
not have his back.
I'm gonna I'm
I
gonna do
mean,
this from a black perspective.
okay.
Okay. Because there's two ways to look at it, but I'm gonna do this from a black perspective first.
Okay.
On look at it as in, when we think about people of color, there's such a concept as a model minority. And when we look at model minorities, those would be the Asian Americans, right? Considered to be the model minority. And their stereotypes are sometimes considered to be more positive than the other minorities. And so when I looked at it, I was just like, that makes sense. Because even as you go through shit, you don't go through the shit Tyler goes through.
Especially
Being,
being the intersection of gay and black.
yes, you will never fully get it, because I feel sometimes that it can be seen as maybe Asian Americans, and I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying it can be seen as Asian Americans are more likely to go along to get along. And that's how I felt Ingrid was, right? She had a goal, and she was willing to do whatever was necessary to reach that goal, because that was the American dream that her parents instilled in her. And then I feel like when it comes to Tyler, his parents instilled in him, oh yeah, we got an American dream, but you don't let nobody fuck all over you now. Okay, you call that shit out, because that's how we live. And I think like that's what was portrayed in the show. I understand Ingrid. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was right. I think that she betrayed her friends, and for Rachel to call her out and be like, you betrayed him. You threw him under the bus for a partnership that you didn't even fucking get in the end. They played you in the end, which is what Tyler was trying to say in the jump. They are never going to give it to us. He said that from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He said it. As soon as that whole thing happened, when he was trying to leave and she was trying to talk him down, and he basically said, they're never going to work with us. They're never going to accept us. So it's a great thing that she left with him when he was leaving the retreat. But then she kind of reverted back to, you know, she just reverted back to kind of stifling it down and going along to get along, rather than like standing her ground on, you're an Asian American. And then to see them screw you over, like in real time, like, can I just say how like it was horrible what Marty did to her at that banquet?
Oh
But
my
yeah, but here's my
God.
thing. I feel like if that had been Tyler, right? And he's up there and they're like, oh, we wrote you a speech. He'd have been reading ahead. And as soon as they got to the part that he ain't agree with, he was like, oh no, I'm not reading that. Like, it would have been an automatic stop. It'd have been an automatic stop. So like, you continuing to read as you know you saying bullshit, that like, so I just feel like from a Black perspective, it's kind of like I can understand Tyler like going off and snapping and like being about that, and Ingrid kind of like going back and be like, I still have a goal, and my parents instilled in me that, you know, this is how white people are, so I'm gonna just go along to get along because I have a goal. I'm making partner. He promised me partner, like kind of thing, you know. That was all it was about. But from just people of color and we're all in this together thing, like, I felt they forgave her too quickly too.
Yeah, like I agree. I think you summed it up perfectly. We all have different experiences. We may all be minorities, and there's some things that we experience the same, but there are ultimately some things that no matter who you are, you will not understand about what this other group has personally had to suffer or endure. So I get that. And from this perspective of I understand being career minded and having your career goals, but that the fact that she was willing to pay that price and did not understand why they were so mad at her. It's almost like she didn't understand. It's almost like she treated this like, oh, it was just a simple miscommunication or a simple misunderstanding. Like in the midst of trying to make it up, even though Rachel doesn't really like to celebrate her birthday, she celebrates it with you two. That is the tradition. Y'all do this thing. It is the tradition, and you couldn't even be bothered to take her
Yeah.
her cake.
Whew.
Your best friend on her birthday. And even Nick was like, but it's her birthday. We came, we saw, we did the whole thing. Let's go to her birthday, you know, and you were like, no. So it's just like every little thing. So the culmination, I think the blow up was just a culmination of all these things, of you being so singularly focused. And it's like you have, and I think someone asked her, is this what you really want? Like, is it really worth what you're doing to all the people in your life? And then do you think that you can come back from that? You know, um, and I agree with you. I don't know that I would have been able to and of course over the show, I think it's a period of about a year that passes through the
Yeah.
time loops. And they spent a good part of that year not speaking. Um, but it was a lot. Even her apology left a little bit to be desired. And I think sometimes, even as friends, even as the best of friends, we all still like to hear, I'm sorry. You just showing up sometimes is not enough. You need to say the words. You need to, you know, um, and I think that they just kind of glossed over that a little bit too easily. Like, oh, he finally picks up the phone and agrees to meet her. And then he's like, oh, I know, I get it. Like it's okay. No, it's not. Let her apologize. I'm not saying make her beg. I'm not saying make her grovel, but let her make her speak the words. Make her truly say it, even though you understand it. Even though let her know that she still needs to say it. So I get that, and I love Rachel for being a ride or die, even though she had her own issues with her. But Rachel Rachel pretty much got them out when she went off on her about her birthday, and then when she went off on her about the other stuff, and when she called and just tried to gloss over it, when she's like, "Oh, you want to go get mani pedicure pedis? I have the spa day." She's like, "No, I'm good," you know. So Rachel was like, she was standing tall with Tyler, even though he wasn't at the firm anymore. Um, so now you're right. She did not get ultimately she did not get the partnership. So was it all worth it? I'm not surprised that she didn't get it because Tyler caught it at the beginning. So was that surprising to you?
Um, no. So you knew that she wasn't going to get it. Like it was a definite she wasn't going to get it when they did not suspend Dan. Like I knew they weren't going to give it to her when they refused to suspend Dan, because ultimately is the bottom line. And so and then when you look at the other Asian woman, right, and just kind of like how she was, like you could kind of tell like she was all like on her own, kind of like chilling on the side. Yeah, it was obvious that she wasn't going to make partner. Now I was a little I was a little thrown that they gave it to Jeff until the very end when you realize how he got it. But I was a little thrown when they gave it to Jeff. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was.
I was too. Like I was thrown because out of three positions, and the as hard as she worked, like she was a damn good lawyer. She was damn good at her job, and she did get them with their biggest client in M&A, and she worked. She busted her ass for that. So, and when you realize that there were three partnerships available for that division, it was like, okay, you knew the other one because you knew Dan was going to get it because of all the money he brought in and his connections. You knew the other one was going to get it because his father-in-law or whoever called in that favor, and he brought in a big client. Like, was he the one that brought in the Defense Department or something at the end?
Who?
Whatever big client he brought in at the end, you knew that was going to get him his partnership. So it was her, and I'm like, okay, Jeff. But I was like, what? And I was thinking, okay, maybe it was Victoria. That's what I thought. I knew he was going to screw her over, but I thought first when he got the partnership, I thought Victoria had threatened to pull her money or her
Mm-hmm.
business if he hadn't if he didn't get it. So I thought Victoria was still caping for him. I knew he was going to screw her over, but I thought he was going to end. I thought it would have more to do with Victoria, as in him and Victoria still hooking up on the low. I had no idea that he was going to do that. Like, tell about her being arrested when she was basically covering for her sister when her sister got her arrested. Which, speaking of forgiving too easy, oh, her sister, man, she needed an ass whooping. I would have
Oh,
beat
she
the
did.
bricks off
I
that bitch.
agree.
I would have beat the bricks off of her. And then she went to say, sidebar, she went to say, I'm the way I'm a fuck up because y'all allowed me to be a fuck up. So what else do you expect me to, bitch? Oh,
Get your shit
oh,
together on your own. Why I gotta push you through? Don't you see what they did to what the parents did to your sister? You want that pressure too? Oh,
girl, I would
girl,
have
please.
beat the bricks off of her. That's all I gotta say about her sister. I would have beat her ass. That forgiveness was too easy. That was the forgiveness that was way, way too easy. You got me arrested. You stole my identity. You stole my at the time my fiance's dead mother's family heirloom earrings to
And
pawn
I
them
thought
for.
they were yours. You looked at those earrings and thought they were your sister's.
And to me that line made it worse. You thought they were mine, so it was okay to steal from me. Like, it would have been better if you thought they were if you knew you were stealing from Ken. That would have made it so much, not that it would have been acceptable, but that would have been more palatable. You thinking you're stealing from the rich white billionaire than me, your hardworking sister. Like that, I was like, oh bitch, that just makes it so much worse. I would have beat her ass. Okay, that's our feelings for the sister. But so once she got arrested for all that, Murphy promised, he swore not to tell, that he would never tell. And then they almost, so when the time that her and Murphy finally hook up and they get together, Did you believe it, or were you just more accepting of it because it was like you knew this is where it was going to go?
On them getting together.
Yeah.
You just knew
Like
that was
it,
the end. Ultimately, that was her end, her personal end game throughout the whole entire show, was to get with Murphy. Like she fell for the okie doke from the jump. So I was just waiting for the moment where like they would get together. I just didn't think she would cheat on Nick. I don't know why, but I thought they would have broken up and then she would have automatically got, or maybe just a kiss like she did at the, what was it? Was it the retreat? I think, or just a kiss and then breaking up. You and Nick break up because you realize you don't want the same things, and then you get with Murphy. I didn't know it was going to be a whole sex thing. That was not sexy. Okay, I just want to put that out there.
yeah. Like like I said, I definitely, if we had to choose between the two, I think she had more chemistry, more in common. Nick was just, and I'm usually the one that goes for the first love, bad boy type dude, but I couldn't ride with Murphy. I was just like, oh God, no. Um, so I agree with you, but um, so so how he got the internship was that basically he blew up her life. He told that she, or how he got the partnership is he revealed to the firm that she had been arrested. Um, Even though he knew the circumstances and the charges and that it was a false arrest and all that shit. So I wonder when he did it. Do you think he did it after she left? No, he had to have done it before in order to get the partnership, huh?
I think he did it on his way to get her.
Damn. So you, damn. So he did it after she called him.
Yeah, like I feel that trying to figure out like how to get her out. He probably called up Marty, told Marty what happened, and that is the reason why like after when she says don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody about this. He'd already told Marty, so they were good because he didn't tell nobody else after that. He kept his promise.
So they, oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like,
You know
okay,
he was
so
shady like that. Come on now. At the end, you could yo. And I,
yeah.
I want I want to, you know what? I would only want a second season just to see how she gets through that bullshit after you rose this dude up all season about all this amazing connection y'all had, even though he was a fuck boy from the jump. And now look what that fuck boy did to you.
Thank you. Like, dude, like you lost everyone in your life at one point except for fuckboy and that fuckboy job. Like
Mm-hmm.
your life was full of fuckery. You had a fuckboy and you had a fuck it job. Like that's it. But that's the fuckery you wanted. Like, um, so okay, so she resigned after she didn't get the partnership. She finally like wised up, I guess. What did you think about the twist at the end about her then having to go back to be Suncorp's lawyer, and then Marty still forcing her to work? And at this point, because he's partner, technically he would be her boss, even though she's the lead on this.
So I like I'm glad, like, I don't like the fact that she's going back to the law firm. I think if you really want to do something different. Okay, so my whole mindset was when Tyler was talking to oh my god, what's the dude name? Valdo. When Tyler was talking to Valdo about like doing a collective, right, for all of these, designers, these street designers and everything like that. In my head, I was like, oh my God, that should be you, Rachel, and Ingrid. Like, I
Oh
can't
my God,
wait.
you know what? We are so in sync because I thought the same thing. I thought that they were going to start their own boutique law firm.
Yes, and
Like
take Suncorp with them.
take Suncorp, take Maggie Moo, whatever that was, Wu J, who was hilarious by
Yeah.
the way. I loved her because they had the three biggest clients. Well, even though the fashion collective wasn't a client, but that could have been the foundation for their luxury brand, their luxury
Yeah, that
whatever,
could have been
right?
that could have been Tyler's thing because he's all about that. And then you could have, you would have been competition. I think that would have been the only thing that would have been crazy would be that they wouldn't have the resources that the law firm did have when it came to like Suncorp and everything like that. But I think that they could have
But
built it around Suncorp, you know.
yeah, like, well, they would have had Suncorp. Rouge definitely would have taken the farm business, Maggie, whatever. Rouge would have followed Rachel.
Well,
Um,
no, I'm just talking about like the
oh, to
actual
help with
resources of the
to
law firm,
the
like the
yeah to
paralegals
help
and
with
everything like that, they wouldn't have had. But with New Leaf there, Suncorp, like I think they could have been, they
you
could
could
have
have
quickly moved up the power chain, kind of.
yeah you could have gotten it. Justin probably would have left. Like you could have built a very comfortable boutique law firm. You would have had the financial resources to get the staffing that you need to help you with your bigger clients. Z-Man would have been way understanding because he's not about that whole corporate bullshit anyway. Um, so yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they were going to start their own like boutique law firm or something. So I was like, so I'm like, okay, this cannot be like she really cannot be going back. And that's when I'm like, you need to talk to the people in your life. If Z knew really truly everything that happened,
He wouldn't
because
force you back there.
he wouldn't force you back there because when they said that they weren't going to take you back, he was like, "Oh, I'm Suncorp now. So do you want me to take my business elsewhere?" Like she's our lawyer, she's our liaison, she's our case. Like so he's basically made it clear without you, Suncorp is gone.
Now it could be that if she's the main lawyer, no matter where Murphy is, no matter where these partners are, at the end of the day, Z-Man would only work with her. So that would ultimately make it that he would have the power to make sure that she made partner in the following year. But again, like, I think she would want it, but really, is that what you want, to go back to that racist environment? Because no, I don't believe the nonsense that she told Tyler, where it's an inch by inch move and then one day they'll be at the top and they can make changes. No changes will happen. It doesn't matter how high you go up, because it's the white man's game in that law firm. And that lets you know that from the fact that Dan is now a partner in that law firm. They won't change anything. It doesn't matter how high up you go. So I think ultimately, if she was to go I would just be very disappointed. But then again, I feel like that's true to course. Like, I don't think that she would go anywhere else. I think that she will go back to that law firm.
Yeah, like that to me, I'm with you. I was like, dude, when she was telling Tyler, I'm like, do you really believe that? Like you didn't see how deep the misogyny and the racism runs at that place? You think you, one little Asian woman, is going to be able to change that when the last generation's version of you see what they've done to her and how they sidelined her and how bitter and horrible it made her. So I was just like, man, but so all right, I guess we talked about. So what would you do you think there should be a season two? And if so, I guess we've already kind of talked about the things we hope to see. So yay or nay on season two?
Nay.
Nay. I'm gonna go yay. I think it would give them a chance to improve some of the and fill some of the holes in the story. I think it would give them a good chance to, because it's not bad. So they do have room for growth, and they laid a pretty decent foundation to grow up on. I think they need to find her. The Murphy dream should be over. I don't want seasons or another season of this back and forth between them. He fucked it up. In the real world, Murphy he did what he did. It's over. So I'm okay with the season two. What are you going to rate it?
So if I take away the fact that I consider the really bad acting to be from Arden Cho, who had no emotions whatsoever, she just did not act well in this show whatsoever. But if I just go off of the concept and did I enjoy the show, if I take out the fact, of her, her lack of acting abilities, I'm gonna give the show a 3.25. I did enjoy the show once I watched it straight through. I just kind of had to get over, my disappointment in the lead actor or actress, the lead actress, and once I got over the disappointment of her acting abilities, it was an enjoyable show. I did enjoy watching the show. I would only want a second season if she had less of a role, but that wouldn't happen because she's the star of the show. So 3.25 is what I'm going to give Partner Track. What about you, Eddie?
Hey, you really don't like her.
She can't
I
act. I'm sorry, she can't act.
I gave it a 3.5. I liked it. Like I said, I obviously didn't find the acting to be as abominable as you did. I guess that's the word of the day. Uh, but like I said, we tended to agree more so on this one than we disagreed about a lot of things. So I would go for a second season. I give it a 3.5. I think there's room for growth. I agree with you on some of the things where I think she was really stiff and she could have used. They could have called for more emotion. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's lack of acting ability or just direction. I have no idea, but we will see. Because there were other scenes where it was good, and I love the fashion. Like she had some
Oh yes, I
amazing
wrote that
outfits.
down as well.
I love the fashion sidebar, amazing outfits. So, all right, you got anything else to add before we close this puppy out?
No, I think we really summed it up very well.
All right. So that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Please be sure to like, listen, follow, and comment wherever you stream your favorite podcast. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwinddown.com. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop,
Pop,
pop,
pop, pop,
pop.
pop, pop, pop.
Thank you for joining us, as always. And be sure to tune in next week when we discuss, I cannot wait for this, The Woman King, starring the one, the only Viola fucking Davis. I'm excited about that one. Are you excited about that one?
I am. I am. I
Oh,
definitely want to see it because I hear there's already controversy with it.
oh shit. Well, all right. Well, we'll have to talk about that next week. So until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Peace
Bye.
out.